Now, the hunter will finish his greatest hunt. Mighty Kraven grind you into the dust.
Welcome back and welcome to Season 2, Episode 24, Season 2's penultimate episode of Me and My Friend Pete. Another Donuts and Dimes production. The podcast where we explore all things the Amazing Spider-Man comic book series. I'm your host, Peter Parker's persnickety pal. Gerald, question. What happens when the hunter becomes the hunted, becomes the hunter, becomes the hunted again?
Wait, what?
We're about to find out. We've got Spidey versus Kraven versus Vulture in a no-holds-barred rumble in a faux jungle somewhere in the heart of the city we know and love. We've got me, we've got you, we've got, no further ado, we've got the Amazing Spider-Man number 49 from the depths of defeat. And in case you're wondering, Kraven bought the nipple lasers. Let's swing!
Me and my best friend Pete. Old adventures, new critiques. He spins webs, I spin yarns. Kinda kooky, be forewarned. Look out, it's me and my friend Pete.
The credits.
The writer on this one is Stan the Man Lee. Pencils and ink, Jazzy John Romita. It's the scene. And lettered by the incomparable Sam Goes Ham Rosen.
The cover.
In a midnight blue negative space on the limb of a jungle tree, we find a sake-sipping stalker with the slick back hair, Kraven the Hunter. In his classic leopard print getup, ballerina shoes, and lion's mane vest, he's stage right and has our hero, the Amazing Spider-Man, off his feet in a modified half-Nelson stranglehold. As if this wasn't bad enough, the Vulture 2.0 is swooping in from stage right, Superman pose aimed downward, his right fist cocked back, ready to strike, his left uppercutting the King of Swing from Forest Hills, Queens. A screen caption box reads, "You name it." And a banner beneath our hero's foot, "This one's got it." But you know we ain't just out here taking people's words on this one. Let's get into it. Page 1 opens to the sign of the spider above the title of this issue, "From the Depths of the Feet." Beneath this, we see our hero where we left him last issue, splayed out on a snow-covered New York rooftop, beaten near death by his old weakness, viruses. And the new and improved vanguard of the void, the Vulture. Above Spidey's unconscious frame, we get headshots of friend and foe alike. The miserable magnate chomping a cigar, J. Jonah
usual.
Jameson. Harry waves on Swim Osborne. The always stylish Mary Jane Watson's head. The heartthrob, Gwen Stacy. And of course, the greatest caretaker this side of my Nana, May Parker. It's to note, everyone here is wearing a smile. Jameson looking like he barely knows how to do it, but still, except May, who has a look of grave concern on her face, which is fair, because floating over our hero staring down with murder in their eyes, stunning headshots in their own right, stage left, we see the Vulture and Kraven the Hunter. But let's reshift our focus to the hero of this podcast with a caption box. They say that a dying man sees his whole life flash before him when the end is near. So it is with the fallen Spider-Man, who daring to battle the deadly Vulture while stricken with a virus attack, has been downed and left for dead. And after a screen caption box that reads, "Also reintroducing Kraven the Hunter." We turn the page. Page 2 opens to, "For long fateful moments, the still figure lies on the rooftop, his pulse growing ever fainter as the evening temperature continues to drop." Is this the end of the King of Swing? No! But then, slowly, weakly, his fingers move, his eyelids flicker, his heartbeat strengthens. The crisis is past. The tide is turned. Spider-Man lives. In the next panel, Spidey sits up weakly, rubbing the back of his skull, stars still dancing above his head.
It must be the intense cold that the Vulture thought would finish me off. Instead, it had the opposite effect. It revived me, but I'm so weak. My head's dizzy. Everything is shaky.
He pushes up from the floor slowly.
But I've got to get up. I've got to. Alone on this rooftop, as groggy as I am, I'm too vulnerable.
But with the Vulture gone, this is probably the safest place to feel weak. You know, a nosy New Yorker would go straight for his mask if he was unconscious on the ground. On the edge of the ledge in the next panel, he rises to his feet, gets his bearing, and shambles down a fire escape ladder, deriding himself as a subpar hero who still needs to use fire escapes. He's made it off the rooftop and into an alleyway to open page 3, and without a change of clothes, he left them webbed to the side of a building last issue, remember? Monologues about getting home without being spotted before starting his trek.
Then, as the long, torturous minutes drone endlessly on,
Creeping along side streets, he makes it back to his apartment building and scaling the sheer wall of the building and the gutter between panels, creeps into his bedroom window.
my luck's holding out. For once, Harry isn't in. Must be on a date. The lucky stiff. But then,
Pulling the mask from his face, sweat beading on his forehead, of course he notices the click of a key turning in a lock as Harry's chosen this moment to return home. He's got to move quick. Leaping the length of the room and diving beneath the sheets of his bed, he pulls the goldenrod covers over himself just as Harry pushes the door wide, shouting about how he's tired and asking Pete if he's home, that he can't tell if the light's off. Seeing Pete swaddled in bed, he apologizes for shouting. And I never really explained about how often exclamation points get thrown around in the Silver Age. Quickly, I will, I swear. According to an article on ScreenRant.com titled Stan Lee Revealed the Secret Reason Behind One of Comics'
slow down, Hot Rod, slow down.
Stan explained all the shouting in the letters column of Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1, Number 9. That's
there ain't no punchlines to fist flying.
here on Me and My Friend Pete. But I digress. Responding to Gordon Flagg Jr. from Atlanta, Georgia, who asked about all the exclamation points, Stan Lee replied, "There's a reason for the exclamation marks, Gordon. When ordinary periods are used between sentences, they sometimes do not reproduce clearly when the mag is printed and the sentences seem to run together. But exclamation marks show up much better, thus eliminating the possibility of any confusion." So there you have it. Thanks, Screen Rant. Thanks, Stan the Man. Back to, after waking the dead, Harry asks if Pete's cold's feeling better. Pete lies and says it is, that he just needed some rest before Harry leaves him alone to get said rest.
But just as our ailing hero gratefully shuts his eyes, another man's eyes are wide open and filled with bestial rage.
We're in Kraven's New York bachelor pad, paid for by the Chameleon to be sure, and we see the guys turn the inside into a hut replete with bamboo piping, outlining a color TV he's had installed into the thatched walls. And on this color TV, the sake sipper watches an image of the Vulture, all the way pissed off.
So, the Vulture is now considered the city's deadliest menace, is he? Well, Kraven the Hunter.
On 4, standing atop the pelt of a Bengal tiger, its cold dead eyes staring into oblivion, a large African bull elephant's head on the wall behind him, Kraven backhands a standing vase, shattering it, shouting,
I'm the one who first beat Spider-Man. I'm the one with the strength, the speed, the stamina of a jungle man-killer. No wing-flapping flying fool can steal my glory from me.
He storms out of the panel and into the next where we see a caged Bengal tiger. This one's still alive. In the foreground as Kraven stands at the head of a staircase, shouting that nobody can fight the mightiest carnivores to exist except him. Is he calling Spidey a carnivore? He reaches up and pulls a rope cord above his head, lifting the gate of the cage, freeing the animal, who stalks forward, snarling.
Come, my pet. It's time for your master to test his mettle once again.
In the final panel, Kraven leaps towards the now freed animal, both eyes nearly shut as is his way, shouting,
Defend yourself, Raja. The moment belongs to Kraven.
Where's Princess Jasmine when you need her? On 5, Kraven, his body still airborne, grips the big cat around the neck, lifting it from its feet and onto its back. And Raja is pissed. He's got claws out, he's got mouth wide, but he's got maw north. The last position you want to be in when Kraven's pissed off and hunting. In a show of brute force, Kraven hurls Raja across the room, where the big cat slams against the far wall with a resounding thud. Waving an angry fist at Raja in the next panel as the tiger slinks away, Kraven shouts,
Now back, Raja. Back to your cage. Your master commands it. Even the terror of the jungle is helpless before my might.
Translation? You see Kraven in a fight with a tiger, pray for the tiger. In the final panel, both fists clenched near his face, Kraven makes a deadly declaration.
Next I shall crush the Vulture, and then all others who try to rob me of my glory, for no one is Kraven's equal.
And he's wasting no time because we find him on 6 scaling the sheer wall of a building effortlessly because comic books. He shouts that he's going to clip the Vulture's wings, so let the hunt begin.
Ask any comic strip writer. He'll tell you the most valuable word in caption writing is meanwhile.
And meanwhile, we find the always worried May Parker with her best friend Anna Watson exiting the elevator of Pete's apartment building on his floor. Anna, goldenrod full-length coat, green purse, green scarf. May, embroidered SJ blue pillbox hat with matching full-length coat, the trimmer for sleeves, also embroidered. Both women are wearing gray boots because, snowstorm. Anna, a hand on May's shoulder, tells May the woman's gotta chill, that Pete has a simple common cold. But May ain't trying to hear that. She says Pete's a frail, and being on his own, he's got no one to look after him, that she just wants to be sure the boy doesn't need anything. Ever notice how the sweetest, shyest little old lady can often have a will of unadulterated iron? May's will is like that unto iron. Shout out to Daniel Rankai. In the next panel, we find May, Anna, and now Harry all huddled around Pete's bedside as he waves a hand, stars still dancing above his head. May says,
"Oh dear, my little boy is still in bed."
Pete says all he needs is a good night's sleep. May places a hand on Pete's forehead in the next panel and goes full on Scarlett O'Hara.
"I do declare, I think you still got a fever. I'm okay. Honest, all I really need is a good night's sleep."
May says that Sweet Pete doesn't want to worry her, turning to exit the room, and fine or not, she's not going to take any chances. She's going to call Dr. Bromwell to come over. Y'all know him. Bromwell by name, Brom's very well by reputation. Yeah, baby, yeah.
"Wait, Aunt May, there's no need to call him." "Nonsense, dear. You just stay there and rest."
In the final panel, we see Harry, May, and Anna have left Pete's room. Harry standing at the door telling Pete there's no harm in getting a physical, that he'll grab the phone if it rings, while May gets bad news on the phone.
"What's that? He's in surgery now. Oh, well, tell him to get here as soon as he's finished. We'll wait for him."
Anna, sitting on the edge of the couch, hands to collarbone, says she's never seen someone so worried. May says you can never be too worried. But you can, though. Seven opens to Pete, alone behind the closed door of his bedroom now, taking the momentary calm to strip out of his costume.
"I'm sure lucky the doc is busy. Now's my chance to peel off my spider suit before I really land in the soup. Say, what do you know? I'm beginning to feel like my old self again. Good old spider stamina. It helped me get my strength back in jig time. But now what do?
The kid's finally beat the virus. He climbs back into bed and left fist pressed against his temple, his S-curl working, lets his thoughts run wild.
I can't suddenly go leaping out of here without making Aunt May pretty darn suspicious. I'll have to play it cool for a while and stay in bed till the doc arrives. After that, I guess I'll just play it by ear. Boy, it's a lucky thing the Vulture isn't acting up long about now."
But Spidey might not feel quite so complacent if he could see the high-flying menace making the scene over New York's towering rooftops at this very moment. We get a gorgeous panel of the Vice Lord of Verticality, his full body, wings wide, filling the long horizontal as he soars from stage right to left, above the city we know and love, blanketed in snow. And if we've learned nothing about the Vulture 2.0, we know he's all about making his mark.
"There's my prey now. My name will go down in history for committing the most unusual crime of all time."
And the mark? Fittingly a purple whirlybird, the Boeing CH-47F Chinook model to be exact. You know the one. Looks like a hot dog with a set of rotors, one on the fore of the airship, one on the back. This is a military class ship, so we know Vulture's ripping off the government. Y'all know I ain't knocking it. Vulture approaches the ship from beneath, shouting,
"The world's first airborne act of piracy. Now to get close enough so they can hear my commands."
In the final panel, just outside of the airship's front window, he goes straight into sailor mode.
"Ahoy the ship! Stop your engines!"
Of course, the airmen inside are completely confused.
"It's the Vulture! What in blazes is he trying to do?"
The Vulture wastes no time in showing us because we turn the page and we're on
The Infinity Page.
Page 8. Just in time to witness the Vulture arms wide, his legs together, a living T as he slams both feet into the undercarriage of the ship. And we already know the Vulture doesn't skip legs, which pays off because the impact of his feet against the ship causes the whirlybird to go into a tailspin.
He's swooping down against the ship, hurling himself at it like a battering ram. "Grab that stick before we topple out of control."
And the airmen have got some talent. They manage to right the ship as the Vulture looks on, his ego nearly as large as the sky surrounding him.
Ha! They just pull out of that dive in the nick of time. Now they do anything I order them to, for they know what it means to defy me.
Back in the cockpit, Airman 1, the palms of his hands pressed against the windows of the ship, stares out at the winged menace, all but calling the Vulture a scoundrel.
"You murderous madman! What is it? What do you want?" "The attaché case which one of the passengers is carrying. It's filled with uncut diamonds."
So, uncut diamonds have different grades according to Diamond101.com. The lowest grade of an uncut or raw diamond is an I3, and 1 carat can go from $90 to $160 per carat. But if the military is carting these things around, we have to assume these diamonds are VVS1 raw diamonds at least, which go for the hefty sum of $1,600 to $1,900. Because this is comic books, we're going to go with the highest grade, FL raw diamonds, which start upwards of $1,900 a carat. The diamonds are being held in a maroon briefcase, so we have to assume there's a decent amount inside. This is a big league hole, and sure enough, wants it.
"Hand it out to me, now, or you'll never reach the airport. You got 30 seconds before I slam into your ship again."
In the final panel, we see the poor jeweler in his
Poor?
olive
You
trench
know
coat
what I
and black
mean.
fedora, clutching the briefcase, and he knows no matter how much the diamonds are worth, he's only got one life.
Here, this is what he wants. For the love of heaven, give it to him before he kills us all.
The pilot shouts,
Hurry, he's getting ready for another power dive at us.
the Vulture.
Only 5 seconds left. Don't say I didn't warn you.
9 opens to the red-haired airman tossing the briefcase out of the window down towards the waiting Vulture, who now, case in hand in the next panel, flies off shouting.
No wonder the original Vulture was willing to guard his secret with his life. A man with wings can do anything. Anything. And no one can ever stop me.
Talk about a nest egg. But, though the Vulture is as yet unaware of it, there is one human foe who's anxious to try. Kraven, crowds gripping the edge of a rooftop, watches the Vulture speed by above him, wagging an angry fist.
I've finally seen him in the flesh. Now that I have the scent, he cannot escape me.
Kraven's on a prowl. And the bird-like baddie causes consternation at the Daily Bugle as well. Alliteration and the staff growing crazy over at 39th Street, 2nd Avenue, Midtown, limestone building. You can't miss it. The Daily Bugle. We've got Triple J, cigar in hand, red tie, sleeves rolled up, seated at his desk. His head is whipping back and forth between papers in his hand and the door, where Betty Brant stands in an orange blazer and skirt. Bob on flawless, a look of worry on her face. Stage right. Stage left, we've got a one Frederick Foswell in a maroon coat, white fedora with a green band and powder blue scarf, because fashion be damn. He is not styling right now. Handing a stack of papers to Triple J, we know now he's the guy stoking the miserable magnates crazy.
JJ, the public's clamoring for more photos of the Vulture.
Does Jonah tirade? Is the voice of the subway narrator, standing clear of the closing doors, please, an Englishman who moved to NYC as a child?
Wait, what?
Of course he tirades.
Shut up, Foswell. Don't you think I know it? What in blazes happened to our staff photogs? Are they all on vacation? Miss Brant, don't just stand there. Get that creep Parker on the phone. I mean now.
Betty makes the call, but it's not Pete who picks up on the other line. Being indisposed, Betty gets Harry, and Harry gets tough.
What? Oh, sorry. Pete's resting now. Can't come to the phone. I don't care who wants him. Jameson doesn't cut any ice with me.
May in a constant state of denial of Jonah the Tirader stands next to Harry, complimenting Jonah on his sweetness and his dear soul, telling Harry to give the man her regards. I think May's feeling the miserable magnate. A second later, the doorbell rings. Anna heads to get it, wondering aloud how Pete is supposed to sleep in all this fracas. But she opens the door to find one heartthrob in the form of Gwen Stacy in a white fur coat with brown fur lining on the collar, red scarf, black leggings, white boots, and clutch to match. And the always stylish Mary Jane Watson, green leather coat, yellow pantsuit, bell-bottom pantsuit to be sure, black shirt, brown purse, brown boots. MJ, grabbing her aunt's chin lovingly, says,
Hi, Aunt Anna. We were passing by and thought PDO could use some cheering up.
Gwen chimes in.
You know our motto, chase the blues away, with Gwen and MJ.
Harry says when Pete wakes up and realizes he's missed both these women showing up for him, he's gonna kill himself. I love this moment here. Gwen and MJ seem to be building a friendship. I know it's fun to comment on them being snide and cold to each other chasing Pete, but they don't have to be enemies, and that trope of two girls fighting over a guy is old. We're gonna see it again to be sure because Silver Age, but moments like these are refreshing. Back 2. On 10, Gwen says, sarcastically, she and MJ should go. But Harry won't hear of it, putting the women over his friend's health. He takes Gwen by the elbow, telling her Pete can't sleep forever, while MJ, as usual, walks over to the record player and starts blasting music. Harry turns it off a moment later. He says the girls can hang, but they can't have a real party. Pete's running a fever. MJ says she thought the fever was because of her, and it's a tragedy to waste Harry and Pete's record collection. Gwen's like, no worries, MJ, let's go. I'll buy you a magazine, and if MJ wants music, they'll get a kazoo on the way. Harry throws his coat on, his hat on, then helps MJ back into hers and says he's going to walk the ladies downstairs. But he's for sure taking advantage of May and Anna being here to get out of Dodge with the two beauties. How do I know?
See you, Aunt Anna. Like, subsequently.
And Gwen?
Tell Pete we came by, Mrs. Parker, and call if you need anything here.
But as the Glamour Brigade departs, what of our brooding bedridden buddy? Pete, purple silk pajamas on, both hands behind his head, has thoughts running a mile a minute.
A fine thing. I couldn't even go out to see the gals. This double identity bitch sure can be a drag sometimes. Isn't the doc ever gonna get here? Well, I can always keep busy thinking of the Vulture. I wonder what that high-flying heel is doing right about now.
And since he asks, back above the city we know and love, we find the volatile Visigoth of the vastness above, shouting down on our city.
It feels so great to be up here, with the whole city helpless below me, that I don't feel like I'll ever come down.
But a bola-tipped rope snags his right ankle in the final panel of the page as someone from off-panel shouts that the man will come down alright. On 11, we've got action. And Kraven on the snowy edge of a rooftop has got Vulture by the ankle. His tricep muscles flex. He yanks Vulture 2.0 from the open skies with the rope attached to the bola, shouting,
The name is Kraven, you doomed flying fool. Kraven the Hunter. I advise you to remember it well, for it is the last name you will ever...
Vulture's not having it. That right cross puts Kraven back on his tiptoes, away from the edge of the ledge. Jaw north. Vulture saying he's heard about Kraven and his strength. Vulture 1.0 gave 2.0 the deets, and he's going to take full advantage. In the next panel, he clips Kraven across the right cheek, flying upwards, barely dodging the bear hug Kraven's trying to crush him with.
The wings of the Vulture make me the master of anyone. You mean that? You really believe it? Then I have truly found the opponent I seek.
You know Kraven gets hyped when he feels like he's fighting a worthy opponent. In the gutter between panels, he leaps onto a nearby chimney stack and off it, both hands above his head towards the Vulture in the next, grabbing his opponent around the left calf muscle. The Vulture, losing his cool as all vultures do when they're confronted with load management, shouts that if Kraven doesn't let go, they're both gonna plummet to their deaths. Kraven, living by one of my mantras when people give me unsolicited advice, shouts,
Worry about yourself. Kraven knows what he is doing.
On 12, Vulture shouts, you asked for it, that they're in his element, beating his wings, lifting the two men steadily higher above the rooftop. Kraven shouts that the man should shut up, that in the jungle, beasts fight silently. That's how he prefers it.
You never have a chance to talk again, because Hey, cut it out. Have you gone mad? You're shifting your weight too fast. You'll pull us both down into that skylight below.
Of course they plummet towards the skylight mentioned in the gutter between panels and crash through it in the next. Head first, Kraven shouting,
Of course, this is exactly what I planned.
he planned this?
Needless to say, a battle between a flying public enemy and a superpowered hunter isn't likely to go unnoticed. Therefore, seconds later...
We're back in Pete's bedroom, his box radio on a nightstand, probably playing some jazzy tunes, is interrupted by a
bulletin. At this moment, police are attempting to cordon off the area around the city's exhibition hall, where the Vulture and Kraven the Hunter have crashed through the skylight into the Explorers exposition.
Pete, one eye open, jolted out of REM sleep, shout.
The Vulture, battling with Kraven. If they're not stopped, they'll tear the city apart.
He creeps out of his bed and cracks his door to find May and Anna on the seats in the living room, nodding off. Pete thinks he should be able to get in and get out before they even know he's gone. In the final panel, we find the kids in the midst of a quick change. He's got his boots on, his tights on, he's pulling down his shirt over his 1960s 4-pack, his mask and gloves on his bed beside him. The king of swing, ready to do his thing.
And so, to the delight of zillions of Spidey files everywhere, it's wall crawling time once more.
And 13 opens to our hero landing on the sheer wall of a skyscraper as traffic zooms by beneath him, across the street from another skyscraper with arches for his base, which of course sent me down a rabbit hole trying to find this building online to no avail. So I leave it up to you, architecture fans of the podcast, find this building because I'd like to see it in person. It's a skyscraper with arches at its base. That's all I got. One in New York City. Let me know, because I'd like to see it in person. Either way, Spidey quiet all day finally gets back to his old ways.
Is he giving the game away?
He's giving the game away.
I know how powerful Kraven and the Vulture are, but I also know I can take them both. I've got the speed and the skill and the strength to come out on top in any ball game. I've had some unlucky breaks before, but now my luck's changed. I can feel it.
Now batting, number 1 from Forest Hills, Queens, the king of swing, Spider-Man. Number 1.
Spidey lands on a netted roof above a faux African jungle exhibit and tearing the netting apart to drop in, continues his monologue.
I knew it wouldn't take me long to reach Exhibition Hall. No wonder Kraven picked a spot like this. It's all fitted out for the Explorers exhibition. He'll be right in his element. It's like a miniature jungle in there. Pretty clever the way he covered this skyline with a net so the Vulture can't fly out again. Well, I better set up my camera and join the party while it's still going strong.
When did Kraven cover the skylight with a net? When did this happen? He's been brawling with the Vulture this whole time. It's comic books. I gotta let it go. I gotta come on. In the final panel, we see Kraven and Vulture dominating the long horizontal. Kraven, right fist cocked back, lunging at the Vulture who isn't focused at all on Kraven at the moment. He's looking over his shoulder. He could probably smell our hero because behind the winged menace, relaxed on a web seat of his own design, his camera beside him is Spider-Man giving a round of applause.
Great fight, fellas. I'm sure glad I got me a ringside seat.
Vulture, convinced he finished off Spidey in their last bout, shouts that it could be someone else behind the mask to open 14.
Come off it, Vulture. It's me, all right. How many other lovable web slingers do you think there are?
At this point in time, it's only you, Spidey. Kraven beside Vulture on a tree limb shouts his nose that this is definitely Spider-Man. Before pushing the Vulture to the side in the next panel, shouting that the man's in luck, that Kraven won't humble him until he's destroyed Spider-Man, that because Spidey's strongest, he has to go first.
Therefore, an unexpected whim of fate has given you a few minutes more of life. Treasure them while you may.
But before another word can be uttered, before another move can be made, we got action. Again! Over the monologue, Spidey leaps from his web perch and towards both men, fist raised, connecting with Vulture's left wing and Kraven's chest, talking his smack. He lands on Kraven's tree limb and bounces off in the gutter between pages, so we find him on 15, both his palms touching grass in a leapfrog pose. He's thinking that even though he caught Kraven flush, the man's strength is for real. He took the punch like a champion, and the Vulture, despite only hitting the man in the tricep, the force of the blow must have reverberated up the villain's spine because the man is groggy, fighting to stay afloat, while Kraven, his keister parked, is ready to dance. He leaps forward in the next panel, a long horizontal with an SJB background, his eyes barely open, focused on his quarry, shouting,
Now, the hunter will finish his greatest hunt. Mighty Kraven grind you into the dust.
But Spidey, agility on, best ever, is ready for him. I imagine the kid's tucked and rolled in the gutter between panels because the final opens to Spidey on his back, both feet up, and he's just caught Kraven around the midsection with said feet and used the villain's momentum against him, sending Kraven head over his own ballet shoe feet towards stage right of the long horizontal where he slams into an unseen solidity. I imagine it's the trunk of the tree. This is great visual storytelling. Big Johnny working, and so are Spidey's ears.
The rustle of wings behind me. The Vulture recovered sooner than I expected. So here we go again.
I imagine Spidey's backflip from the floor in the gutter between pages because 16 opens to our hero squatting on a tree limb. Right hand behind him on the thick branch. Left hand raised, his back to us as the Vulture swoops in for his first attack of the contest.
I beat you before and I'll do it again. But this time, it'll be for good. Even your spider strength is no match for the power of my wings.
Spidey says he's glad the man's mentioned it. As Kraven creeps up from behind, Spidey snatches Vulture out of the air by the tips of his wings. Now, the Sultan of the Skies is head over feet in the air. As our hero shouts that he was wondering how he'd fight the Vulture, but now he's figured it out. He's going to use the man's wings against him, and hurls the man into the next panel and onto the ground, talking his smack.
When you beat me last time, you were fighting a sick little Spider-Man. Even Doris Day could have knocked me for a loop that time.
And Doris Day?
Paraphrase from Wikipedia.
Doris Marianne Kappelhoff, better known as Doris Day, was an American actress and singer whose career spanned 7 decades. Despite being known for her voice and acting chops, Day began her career under the bright lights as a dancer, performing in national competitions with a one Jerry Doherty until a car crash with a, am I reading this right? You are. A freight train left her with a broken right leg, ending her dream of becoming a professional dancer. But Day had other dreams and talent. Day, thanks to her mother, began taking singing lessons with Grace Rain, and the woman seeing the raw talent Day had began giving her 3 lessons a week for the price of 1. During this time, Day secured her first professional singing gig on the radio program Carlin's Carnival, where she was discovered by Barney Rapp, who asked her to audition for a job, and out of 200 vocalists, Day came out on top. In 1939, she began using her stage name Doris Day on the suggestion of Rapp, and found moderate success working with Jimmy James, Bob Crosby, younger brother of Bing, and Les Brown. She gained her first hit with Brown, Sentimental Journey, in 1945, which became an anthem for servicemen during World War II, and between 45 and 46, had 6 other top 10 hits: My Dreams Are Getting Bigger All the Time, Tain't Me, Till the End of Time You Won't Be Satisfied, The Whole World Is Singing My Song, and I Got the Sun in the Morning. And her voice opened more doors for her in the entertainment industry. Her performance of Embraceable You led to her first movie role in Romance on the High Seas, and she, you can say it, seized the day, performing well enough to gain roles in other musicals such as On Moonlight Bay and Tea for Two, before starring in her greatest box office hit, I'll See You in My Dreams in 1951, then Calamity Jane in 1953. Between 1950 and 1953, she went scorched earth on the charts. 6 of her albums from musicals she was in made the Billboard's top 10, 3 of them reaching number 1, all while hosting her own radio show, The Doris Day Show, from 52 to 53. A bona fide star at this point, the hits just kept on coming, taking her first dramatic role and first top billing in the 1955 Love Me or Leave Me. Day wowed audiences, but didn't come away with an Oscar nod, having to settle for another number 1 soundtrack album. From 1949 to 1958, she ranked as the number 1 female vocalist 9 times and then focused on her acting career in force. From 1960 to 1964, she was the largest box office draw 4 times, tied with only Shirley Temple, and holds the record for 7 consecutive Laurel Awards from 1958 to 1964 for top female box office star, and won an additional 4 for Best Female Performance from 1959 to 1970. In the same span, she received 6 Golden Globe nominations, winning 3. Upon the death of her husband Martin Melcher in 1968, Dave found out the man and his business partner had left her in deep debt and signed her up for a television show. They didn't want to do it, but you know the donuts and dimes accounts needs to be refilled, so she got busy, starring in the Doris Day show for 5 years from 1968 to 1973. With the conclusion of the show, they mostly bowed out of the limelight for the rest of the 70s, doing only 2 specials. In 85, they started a 26-episode run of Doris Day's Best Friends, which ran for a year, won a lawsuit against the swindler Rosenthal, and with her career winding down for the most part, received her due for her contributions to the world as an artist, including a Cecil B. DeMille Award from the Golden Globes in 1989, Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Comedy Awards in 1991. In the early 2000s, she would have received an American Film Institute and Kennedy Center honors, but couldn't appear in person, so had to settle for the Presidential Medal of Freedom awarded to her by George W. Bush in 2004 for her achievements in entertainment and her work on behalf of animals. We'll come back to that. She had 3 of her singles inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame: Sentimental Journey, Secret Love, and Que Sera Sera in 1998, 1999, and 2012 respectively. Inducted into the Hit Parade Hall of Fame in 2007, a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 2009, and a Los Angeles Film Critics Association Career Achievement Award in 2011. In her work with animals, after seeing animals mistreated during filming of The Man Who Knew Too Much, they refused to work until the animals were cared for properly, then dedicated her life to making sure animals were treated fairly, period. She co-founded Actors and Others for Animals in 1971, alongside Mary Tyler Moore, Angie Dickinson, and Jane Meadows. Founded the Doris Day Pet Foundation, now the Doris Day Animal Foundation, in 1978, the Doris Day Animal League in 1987, originated World Spay Day in 1995, merged Herd League with the Humane Society of the United States in 2006, and helped found the Doris Day Horse Rescue and Adoption Center in 2011. Anything else? Well, they also spent a lot of her years fundraising to combat and raising awareness on HIV and AIDS, along with providing contributions to research and support programs for people with the disease. Talk about an active life. One time for screen legend, airwave dominator, and overall awesome human being, Doris Day. Thanks, Wikipedia. Back to Spidey's sixth sense kicks in as Kraven pounces, but Spidey was too slow to dodge. In the final panel, Kraven, his left bicep wrapped around Spidey's chin from behind, his right wrapped around Spider-Man's right bicep, whispers sweet nothings in our hero's ear.
Now, you meddlesome masked misfit, we'll see which of us is the master. Not even a bull gorilla can free himself from Kraven's unbreakable python grip.
On 17, the Vulture shouting,
Hold him, let me polish him off.
Takes full advantage of Kraven's upper hand, cracking Spidey with an uppercut across the left cheek. So we're in that action from the cover now, despite Kraven telling the man to mind his own business, that the spider belongs to him. But Spidey belongs to no one. He rams his free left elbow into Kraven's gut in the next panel, freeing himself and talking smack.
It's real flattering to be fought over this way, gents, but just between us, neither of you are my type.
Before connecting with a downward punch from his right hand across Kraven's jaw in the next panel.
And in case nobody told you, bull gorillas don't know a thing about judo, and the same goes for you, big man.
There are no punches in judo. There used to be. This one is called Shimosuke. Back two. With Kraven on one knee, Spidey sneaks a peek over his shoulder and ducks just in time too, because the Vulture was trying to take our hero's head smooth off with a left cross. Realizing Spidey may have been right about not being 100% in their last skirmish, he shouts at Kraven, asking the man to forget their battle for now, that he and the Master Hunter should team up. Spidey thinking,
Hey boy, that's all I need.
Meanwhile, Kraven, probably feeling like his back's against the rope, goes to his secret weapon. Nipple lasers? Nipple lasers!
Remember the weapon with which I stopped you last time? The double-barreled ray which can magnetize your musculature, electrolytes. This time, it will finish you off.
But Spidey, agility on best we've ever seen, leaps from the trunk of the tree above electricity flying from Kraven's nips. Why does Kraven have his hands on hips in this hour?
Panel of the week. Not a chance, Charlie. Not when my split-second timing is still way ahead of you. Incidentally, if you wonder why I didn't move sooner, I was waiting until that high-flying heel got into the right position. Like so.
Translation? You gotta be quicker than that. Somebody should have told Vulture because the beams hit the swooping menace square in the chest, who shouts,
Ah!
and falls to the foreground unconscious in the next panel. Spidey in his Birkin now slams both his hands into Kraven's shoulders in the background, dropping the Hunter, screaming.
And now, you predatory pack rat, I'll do something I should have done long ago.
Before pushing the villain's jaw north in the next panel. The last position you want to be in when Spidey's ripping the wires from your nipples. Kraven doesn't even scream. His nips used to the pain by now. He's probably turned on. But he composes himself, gets low in a Russian squat kick in the final panel, and lets fly with his left leg, sending our hero flying backwards, shouting that his strength is what's going to give him his final victory, not his nipple lasers. But Spidey's on his feet, crouched low to open 19, as Kraven advances with confidence.
And now at last, the ultimate confrontation, the ultimate reckoning. Like the master hunter that I am, I have brought my greatest quarry to bay. All that is left is to deliver the last shattering blow.
Spidey, fearless, replies,
You know it, Gruesome, but there's one thing you left out.
and dodging a right cross from Kraven, hits the Hunter in the jejunum with a wicked right straight punch.
That last blow you mentioned will be delivered by your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And never let it be said that the proportionate strength of a humble spider is anything to whistle Dixie at, old buddy.
In the next panel, the usually thin slits of Kraven's eyelids are open as wide as the lion's eyes on his vest, and we get an idea from our hero about just how hard he hit this man.
Because in case you didn't know it, I just whumped you with the same kind of whump that once staggered the Hulk.
Don't take our word for it, Tiger. Get your Spidey Annual number 3 out of the vault and see for yourself. Square shooting Stan. That was the Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 3, To Become an Avenger. Or, There Ain't No Punchlines to Fist Flying 3. First come, first serve. Here on Me and My Friend Pete. Hit this man with strength reserved for the Hulk. Pulling no punches. In the next panel, Kraven, both hands above his head, sways and swoons as Spidey asks,
Get the message, Jungle Man?
Kraven falls face first into the ground at our hero's feet.
He got the message.
This fight is over. Thus, a few simple soul-satisfying seconds later, 20 opens the Vulture and Kraven, stage right on the floor of the faux jungle, sheer webbing covering both their unconscious figures as they sleep the sleep of the defeated, while Spidey, perched on the nearby tree limb once more, snaps pictures, monologuing.
Just hold that pose, gents. I want to have a little keepsake of the two of you. Something to put in my Hulk chest. How's about seeing cheese for him, fella, Kraven? Oh, Jolly John ought to be willing to paint through the nose for a shot like this.
Okay, true believers, on your toes. It's wrap-up time again. The battle over, we find Spidey leapfrogging his window towards his bed in the next panel. Exactly 3 minutes and 20 seconds later, as if it matters. May enters the room with the always snazzily dressed Dr. Bromwell and Anna Watson, where she finds her favorite nephew in his purple silk pajamas, in bed with his cover pulled up near his collarbone. She asks Pete if he's up to a physical. The Prince in Purple says he is, and Bromwell gets started. Physical done and wrapping up in the next panel, the doctor tells May the bed rest has done Pete good, that the kid's as fit as a fiddle. Pete says he just needed some rest. May replies,
I stayed outside to make sure he wouldn't be disturbed.
when she tells Bromwell Pete's fragile, so she's glad, Bromwell, hat in hand, checks her.
Fragile? My dear woman, he's a picture of robust health.
May, shady, replies,
Mercy, doctor. If I didn't know better, I think you meant it.
Translation? I know frail and that boy frail. In the next panel, Pete's up and has thrown a robe on, then thrown an arm over May and Anna's shoulders, getting into the usual argument with May over the difference between a pussy willow and a pussycat. In the final panel, the camera zooms outside of Pete's apartment window as dust settles on a snow-covered city. He says he's going to take the woman out to a movie, that there's a western playing. May's reply,
That would be nice, Peter. You've been cooped up so long, you can use a little excitement.
oh May, if you only knew. A caption box closes this issue. Next, Spider-Man No More. And we're out! Thus wraps the penultimate issue of Me and My Friend Pete Season 2, and Pete put his game down quite flat. What can I say about the art I don't always say? What can I say about the writing that I don't always say? 49 gold like San Francisco, with a happy ending to boot. That's the main episode this week. And that's true. That's the main episode, but there is more Me and My Friend Pete available for your listening pleasure right now. If you sign up to patreon.com/HSPP in the Keykeeper or High Council tiers, patrons have a vault filled with bonus episodes covering comic book stories from all over the multiverse of comic book universes. Next bonus episode, our final bonus episode of Season 2, we're diving into a tale involving one of DC Comics' oldest and greatest supergroups, the Justice Society of America, in The Next Stage, Part 2. A wonderfully drawn comic that reminds us you can't just be inviting everybody to the cookout. If you become a patron before ASM number 50, look, you're running out of time to do it, I'm just saying, you'll receive a thank you gift from Me and My Friend Pete for being a supporter during Season 2. Let's keep these good times rolling. You won't regret it. And here, well, that's exactly where Spidey's had it up to as the pressures of being the King of Swing and the Prince of Persnick from the Forest Hill Strip collide, causing Spidey to make a life-changing decision. Join us for one of the most prolific Spidey tales of all time, in Amazing Spider-Man number 50, Spider-Man No More. And believe me when I say, Pete, after the year I've had, I feel you. You got questions? Send them to me in myfriendpete@gmail.com, and I'll go digging for the answers. Follow us on Instagram @MNMFP_podcast. Tell somebody who loves Spidey to board our crazy train. We need you. The panel of the week can be found at patreon.com/HSPP. Thank you so much to all our patrons. We couldn't do it without you, and we wouldn't want to if we could. All that said, that's all that said. Please like, please
Leave a
comment,
review on
please share,
Podbean, why
please
don't you?
take care, and please think of the world and be true to yourself. That dusty trails are calling, but there's no use stalling, cause you know the tagline for the people. With great power, babe, you know. Make sure you're being responsible. I'm out of here.